Do you love finding new and different ways of coloring things that you use in your creativity? If so, today I have for you a whole bunch of fun and excitement. Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another Friday Findings video at keepsakecrafts.net. I have been playing with alcohol inks for years. I started playing with them when I did scrapbooking and watched Tim Holtz do amazing things with the Ranger brand alcohol inks on glossy paper. It just fascinated me. Then I discovered you could color metals and all sorts of things, and I was hooked. In fact, one of my very first Friday Findings videos is about using alcohol inks. But the Ranger brand was the only one you could buy in stores. But I heard about this other brand called Piñata and have been wanting to try them for ages. And finally, I got myself a couple of packages. I kind of love this. They call them the Exciter Pack. It's not the Trial Pack or the Starter Pack, the Exciter Pack. And yeah, I was excited. So this one is the Piñata alcohol ink colors. I love that the Piñata is a Spanish word. Well, most of the names have Spanish words in them. Blanco is white, and Mantilla black, and Baja blue, and Senorita magenta. So I'll have a link where you can get these at my blog post. By the way, every video that I make has an accompanying blog post. And you will always find a link to that if you click up here. There's a little eye. Click on that. That will bring you to my blog post and other related videos. Or you can click down in the description box, which is in different places on different devices. These are 9 of the Piñata colors in alcohol inks. It's a great starter exciter pack. They also give you some great information. In case you didn't know, alcohol inks are transparent and they're wonderful for layering because you can add just small amounts and get very soft, pale layers, but you can keep layering them up and get deeper, darker, richer colors. Because they are alcohol inks and clean up with alcohol, you do want to be careful that whatever they are exposed to isn't alcohol-based, because that will remove them. The other set I got, I realized they actually aren't alcohol inks. I keep calling them inks in some of my videos. Forgive me for that. These are the Lumiere, and they're paints, and they're beautiful. They're just all these pearlescent colors that are just absolutely gorgeous. This pack also has 9 in the Exciter pack, like the other one. I like that this instruction sheet actually gives you all 32 colors. Who knows, it may have changed by now. They may have more. These companies are usually always adding colors. But you get a little chart of all the colors, which I will probably save. They give you some hints, even a project, a kind of idea, like painting an umbrella. These are quite different than the alcohol inks. They're paints, not inks. They clean up with soap and water, unlike the alcohol inks, which need alcohol or a blending solution. I think what they are intended for the most part, is use on fabrics because they're light-bodied and they're designed to last without cracking and peeling on fabric. Sometimes painting on fabric can be tricky. And once they're dry, they're washable, which is pretty cool. I got these for none of those reasons. I wanted to play with transparent polymer clay. I had a project in mind, which I'll show you in a moment. I was looking at them, trying to decide which one should I test with my translucent polymer clay. And I couldn't decide. So I tested them all. This is a little card that I made of the unbaked clay. This is Pardo translucent clay. I've got 18 colors here and I made 18 samples. This is all of how they look unbaked. And pardon me if this is kind of a mess, but it works for my purposes. This is how they look baked. What I was amazed with was how much the translucency of the polymer clay is preserved. You can see, you can read through that. This is rolled out on the thinnest setting of my pasta machine, which is about 3/10 of a millimeter. This is, like I said, Pardo translucent. This is without any tinting in it at all. But even these darkest colors, this is the very darkest color. You can still, well, on this one, you can kind of see the letters through it. But with this blue one, I just have these stuck on here with glue dots. You can read through it. It's pretty amazing. So what I did over here, because one thing I had discovered with the Ranger alcohol inks was that if you put too much in the clay, it killed the transparency. You just couldn't see through it anymore, and it didn't look like transparent clay anymore. So on this side, these 9, I put a drop of the alcohol ink in. And then on this side, with these 9, I put a dab. And yes, I even tried the white because I thought it might make a difference. And it did. It definitely is a lot less translucent. I thought it might be interesting to get marbly effects if you put the white in without mixing it thoroughly. I was really surprised by these with just a dab. So I put as small a drop as I could on, and if it was too big, I wiped off most of it. And so there was just a tiny smear of color on each of these. And you can see the difference. You can see why it's important to do a baked and unbaked sample, because they look quite different. I never expected these two to be quite so neon. And here's a project that I made with these. I shared this with my patrons earlier this week. Everybody who supports me for $5 or more on Patreon got to watch the video on how to make these little flowers using Pardo translucent clay, and these ones are the Halo Blue Gold. So if you've been thinking about getting different inks to experiment with, so far I highly recommend these. Like I said, I've really only used them for coloring my translucent clay. But for that purpose, I've been very happy. I love the sparkle. I don't know if you can tell, this is one of the Lumieres in these earrings. And I don't know if you can see, it's called Halo Blue Gold. And I don't know how well you can tell, but you can see the kind of gold sparkle in there. It's preserved, which I think is just fantastic and beautiful. I also love that these bottles have white caps because it was easy to just put a drop of color on each cap, and now I can look down in my storage container and quickly find what I want. That's one thing that's annoyed me for all these years, is that the Ranger inks have black caps on how to color them, but I actually figured out a workaround. I am going to do a similar test with the Ranger inks because there have been some that I've been disappointed in the results with baking over the years. So I'm curious to see if they aren't as true to color after baking as these Piñata inks are. And when I do that, I will also show you my workaround for coloring the tops of the black caps as well. So if you're interested in the supplies, like I said, click on the eye in the upper right or in the description box to go to my blog post, where I always have a complete supply list and product links. If you're interested in becoming a patron and getting free bonus tutorials every month, take a look at my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/SandySewen. Thanks for watching. Happy creating. Bye-bye.